Welcome back to Dearest Dispatch and welcome back to I watched all of Formula 1 so you don't have to. Today we are covering the final round of the 1950 Formula 1 FIA season. It is round 7, the 1950 Italian Grand Prix. So let's get right into it. So the 1950 Italian Grand Prix, of course, took place in the ever iconic Monza circuit, taking place on the 3rd of September 1950. Which was about, I think, 2-ish months post the previous Grand Prix, so quite the long break. And it was, of course, round 7 of 7 of the 1950 Formula 1 Championship of Drivers. And yeah, it, of course, as I said, took place in Monza, though the Monza of 1950 was drastically different from the Monza of today, which is always important to notice, with this here being a rough map of what it looked like. Of course, the Monza today is drastically different. I should really put a comparison photo in the future, so remind me to do that. But you still have Curve Grande, which I think still exists. The Lesmo chicane corner still exists today as well. Though the rest of them I don't entirely recognize via name, so yeah. But pretty straightforward circuit. It's essentially a hockey stick. Not that I know anything about hockey, but that's vaguely what it looks like to me, or like a foot. So yeah, pretty straightforward, similar to a lot of circuits at the time, though not just an oval this time, which is good. And yeah, as per usual, last time I mentioned that I slapped some photos in there, so I found some nice little photos for you as well. Not many photos of this Grand Prix, which is surprising considering that it was the first ever Monza Grand Prix, which is a very iconic Grand Prix and one that we still see today. And that it was the final Grand Prix of the 1950 season. So surprising, there's not many photos, but I found a couple of interesting ones, both of being on the same corner, I'm just now noticing, so sorry about that. But yeah, got some people here standing way too close to the track, closer than they should have been, though it was a different time. And yeah, there goes the cars zooming around the corner, as you would expect them in both photos. So yeah, very cool. Let's start off with qualifying, where Ferrari pulled out all of the stops to impress at their home circuit, producing a new unsupercharged 4.5-litre engine to try and end the Alfa Romeo monopoly. And ultimately Alberto Ascari used it to achieve second place on the grid to Juan Manuel Fangio's Alfa Romeo 158, though of course Fangio is well and truly the GOAT, so you know, difficult to beat him. But still an extremely impressive result for the Ferraris in their home Grand Prix, though we'll see how it goes for them. Followed, of course, by Nino Farina, Consalvo Sanesi, whose name I don't recognize, but he's an Alfa Romeo driver, Luigi Fagioli, Torino Serafini, Piero Taruffi, Raymond Sommer, Franco Roll, Robert Manzon, rounding out the top 10. Though, of course, you've still got your classics, Philippe Etonceline, Peter Whitehead, Louis Chiron, Luis Rosier, Prince Bira, all in there, Johnny Claes, all in there somewhere, if you look hard enough. And we have 3 did not attend, I think DNA stands for, with Giovanni Bracco, Reg Panel, and Luigi Plate, all not attending the race after presumably signing up to. So with qualifying done, and that being qualifying, let's get into the race. So the race started with Nino Farina jumping into first place with a fast start, until, unfortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, Alberto Ascari jumped him and ended up leading the race briefly, though unfortunately the pace ended up being too punishing for the new car, and a porous block broke on lap 20 and the battle returned as usual to the Alphas, with the Ferrari ultimately retiring. Which was somewhat of a theme in this race. Fangio would end up retiring twice, once in his own Alfa Romeo 158 and a second time after taking over Piero Taruffi's, which is a shame for him, so ultimately he was unable to win the Drivers' Championship. If he had simply won the race, he would have ended up winning, I think, pretty easily, or even if he had just finished the race, I think. So, unfortunate for him. Farina would ultimately lead to the finish from Ascari, who was now in teammate Dorini Serafini's Ferrari 375, with Luigi Fagioli finishing third and rounding out the top 3 in his Alfa Romeo 158. Luis Rosier would finish 4th in his Talbot Lago, with Philippe Etonceline 5th in his Lago Talbot. Dorini Serafini qualified and drove 47 laps of the race in his number 48 Ferrari, before Alberto Ascari, whose own vehicle had already retired, took over Serafini's car for the remaining 33 laps of the race, and they shared a total of 6 points for second place, so 3 points each. Piero Taruffi qualified and drove 25 laps of the race in the number 60 Alfa Romeo. Juan Manuel Fangio, whose own Alfa had already retired, took over Taruffi's car for a further 9 laps before again being forced to retire. Céline would become the oldest driver to ever score a World Drivers' Championship point with that finish, and only 7 cars finished out of a total of 27 starters, with Farina's win and Fangio's failure to score, with Fagioli's third place points removed as his worst scoring finish. Farina became the first ever recipient of the World Drivers' Championship crown, with Nino Farina being the only World Drivers Champion to win in his home country. So massive congratulations to Nino Farina for winning the 1950 Formula 1 champion and becoming the first ever Formula 1 champion. So massive congrats to him. Let's talk about the race results, of course, with Nino Farina finishing, followed by Adalberto Ascari and Dorini Serafini sharing points in second place, followed by Luigi Fagioli, Luis Rossier, Philippe Céline, Toulouse du Jaffelried, and Peter Whitehead rounding out the top 7, with the rest retiring from a variety of engine/oil/car related problems. Though of course we have one did not start, that being Felice Bonetto, who didn't start the race. But yeah, Nino Farina was the first ever Formula 1 Drivers' Championship, so massive congrats to him, and an incredible result for him after what seemed like a definite victory for Fangio. But of course, let's talk about the what ifs. So for Fangio to have won it, essentially, he would have had to win the race. If he had won the race, he would have won the entire thing. Though there's a variety of different things or different permutations that I could discuss. If Fangio had won the race with nobody else being above him, he ultimately would have won. So Luigi Fagioli, for him to win, he would have had to get first place plus the fastest lap, which is an extra point, with Fangio finishing lower than 5th without the fastest lap, and Farina finishing 3rd or lower. So it was quite unlikely for him, unfortunately. Farina would have won it if he had gotten first place with the fastest lap, and Fangio finished 3rd or lower, with Fagioli finishing any position. So overall, Fangio retiring essentially all but guaranteed Farina the win. So massive congratulations to him. And finally, let's talk about the final championship standings for the 1950 Formula 1 season, with Nino Farina jumping 2 places into first place, with Fangio dropping into 2nd, Luigi Fagioli dropping into 3rd, Luis Rossier retaining his 4th place position, and Alberto Ascari jumping the Indianapolis 500 driver, who I'm forgetting the name of, into 5th place. And that was the 1950 Formula 1 season, won and dominated by Giuseppe Nino, or not dominated, but won by Giuseppe Nino Farina. If you watched all these episodes, thank you so much for watching. It's been really fun to make this series over the past few weeks, and of course it's not stopping here. With the next race, we are jumping right into the 1951 Formula 1 season with the 1951 Swiss Grand Prix. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to like, subscribe, and all that other YouTuber stuff. I would greatly appreciate it. Again, next week we will be covering the 1951 Swiss Grand Prix, the beginning of the 1951 Formula 1 season. I think there was a similar amount of 7-ish races for that one, so we'll be covering all of those right here over the coming weeks. I will also be compiling all of these into one I watched all of the 1950 Formula 1 season, so you don't have to video. Though as for when that comes out, I'm not sure, so stay tuned for that. And overall, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned next week for This Week in Formula 1, where I'll be discussing the Miami Grand Prix and everything that went on there. So yeah, thank you guys. I hope you have a great, wonderful day. Bye for now. Peace.